You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
We are about to get started with part 2 of our weekend Cabral House Calls. Each and every weekend, I go through somewhere between 5 and 10 of our community's questions on all things wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging. We always have so many different topics, so many different variations of kind of issues that people are dealing with in their own life. It may have to do with losing some weight. It may have to do with a child that they're caring for, an elderly parent, or just even friends that they're reaching out for besides themselves. I'm happy to answer those questions. I'm happy to give you some insight on how to get started, what you may be missing, and what you need to do to get on that path to healing. And that's really what it's all about. It's not just about kind of looking for those surface levels, those quick answers. We all know that, really in the long term, they never work out. In the short term, sure, you can mask symptoms that way. If you're tired, you could drink some coffee. If you're not feeling well, you have a cold, you could take some cold medication. If you're not sleeping, you could take some sleep medication. If you have acid reflux, you could take Zantac, Prilosec, any one of those things, right? But they're all short-term fixes that if you don't take care of them now, with your body crying out, giving you those symptoms is your body crying out saying, we're trying to heal. This is us trying to heal. And if you don't heed that, if you don't listen to that, listen to your body, you're going to end up worse off in the long run. So yes, it's going to take a little bit more work, just a little bit more work in the short run, but it's worth it. And the reason is you get to live a nice long life, a good healthy quality of life for decades to come, rather than dealing with this every week or every month on an ongoing basis. So let's see if we can help some people today. Let's get started with Paula. She's our first question today. She's writing in, "Hi doc, very pleased with the info and insights discussed on your topic. My question is in regards to chemotherapy. My father, 61 years old, was diagnosed with a bladder tumor, which was surgically removed about 2 months ago. A week ago, without having to fully recovered from the surgery and still using a catheter to urinate, he started a 6-cycle-long chemo protocol, each cycle lasting 3 weeks. Upon the application of his first medication, the side effects were severe, ranging from headaches, lack of appetite, weight loss, joint and back pain, constant nausea, and brain fog. Needless to say, he dreads continuing treatment and has been following a low-carb diet when he does eat. We would like him to go full-on ketogenic and complement with other therapies. However, an alternative doc has advised us against stopping chemo and suggested we finish the 4-month-long treatment and then opt for alternatives. We want to hear your take on this. Should he continue chemo given all the side effects, or should we go on the full-on functional route? Thanks a lot. I know this question is a long with background info. Okay, so I'm happy to help. Just please do keep in mind that I'm offering suggestions and advice right now. I'm not giving you medical recommendations. I can't do that. We're on a podcast. I'm doing my best to help you wherever you are, many thousands of miles away. I'm trying to do it from a caring perspective where I want to see you. I want to see your family. I want to see your father. I want to see everyone do well. I want to give you some overall cancer-based advice and then maybe share some advice with you as well. I believe that if you catch cancer early enough, even in late term, that you can heal it from a strictly natural-based perspective, okay? There's so much research also on natural healing, and there always has been. So you can look at the Gerson Institute, and you can look at Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez, who's now passed away. You can look at Dr. Donald William Kelly, who Dr. Gonzalez learned from initially. You can look at the Ayurvedic-based treatments. As I've said before, you can go to cancertutor.com, which has a wealth of information. I do recommend checking that out. What you'll see, though, is that there's a lot of different research that works for different people. And that's because hopefully you're starting to learn through my podcast, there isn't one approach, meaning that if you're a Vata body type and you go through on a super low carb diet, that's not going to be very helpful, right? Because you're going to really deteriorate very, very quickly. But if you're an endomorph and you go on a keto-based diet and you have tumors, well, that has been shown to be successful, but only successful because you're starving the tumors of sugar, right? But not successful because you're helping to give the body the antioxidants that it needs. So even if you're on a keto-based diet, it's my recommendation, you need to up your level of green antioxidant-based vegetables. I would actually go for all the different colors: blues, purples, yellows, reds, orange, green, all the different colors to get those antioxidants. And that's because really the only diet in the world shown to help prevent cancer is a plant-based diet, not a fat-based diet. However, keep in mind, a keto-based diet is more of a medical therapeutic-based diet, and I do not deny the validity of using it for cancer-based tumors. Now, it's not shown to work with blood type cancers or bone type cancers, but it is shown to have some success as well with tumors. And so again, I actually would say, okay, you can be on the absolute right path for that. Just keep in mind, I probably would recommend lots of juicing of greens. So your spinach and kale and your chard and all those great things, and adding in parsley and cilantro for liver detoxification. So let me go back. Let me take a little step back now. Okay, so overall cancer, and again, I don't want to spend too long on any one question because then nobody gets their questions answered. And I could literally give seminars on this, and I love to. But the truth is that, again, this is to get you started. Here's the deal. If you've already started chemo is wiping out the immune system as well. Like it's damaging the body, but it's also damaging tumors. So if you started it, I have to agree with your alternative doc that probably better to finish it out. You're already into it. And now weaken the immune system from one side. So you want to hope that the chemo works. And then after that, just like your alternative doc said, I want you to then get full bore into all of your natural-based treatments and really get into those alkaline-based minerals, upping the vitamin C. Like you can still up your vitamin C right now. You can still do a lot of those things that will help with cancer as well. So look into that, cancertutor.com and a few other places as well. Again, I'm not telling you what to do, but I do agree. If you've already started, well, the immune system in your body is not going to heal as well because you've already started the chemotherapy. So if it's 4 months long and you're already like a month or two into it, you're already halfway there. It's kind of like swimming to an island. You swim halfway and you swim halfway back. Well, just go the final route. Hope that works, especially if there was a high likelihood that it does work. And then from there, change the lifestyle, get back into all those healthy things. Okay. Hopefully that helped, Paula. I wish I could do more. I really do from this podcast perspective, but I hope that gave you at least a little bit of insight. Jeanette is up next. Jeanette is asking, hi, Dr. Cabral. My question is regarding my 4-year-old daughter. Her tongue is a white coating, but I can see the red taste buds through like it's dots all over. She also has off and on itching in her vaginal area. I thought it was from her not wiping the area very well after peeing. I'm wondering if this is Candida. If so, how do I treat it? Thank you for all you do, Jeanette. All right, Jeanette, this is fairly straightforward. A couple things, the white coating on the tongue. I did a tongue diagnosis show, so let me go. I'm going to link that up. I don't have the number in front of me right now, but remember, as always, just go to stephencabral.com/podcasts, and you can literally just type in that search bar. We created that for our community. We never had that before. I had my web guy go through 500 plus podcasts and put that in tags and all these things. So you can literally type in tongue diagnosis or tongue diagnostic and it should pop up. But what I'm going to do is literally today, go to stephencabral.com/590. I believe that's today's podcast number. And you'll get every link. So you'll get, why don't I do this? I'll put in cancertutor.com website. I'll put in the tongue diagnosis show number, and you'll be able to get all that information on that. But just, for your quick answer, yes, white coating on the tongue called thrush is a yeast Candida-based issue. A white coating as well could also be from SIBO. It could be from any type of bacterial overgrowth as well. So do keep in mind the tongue is the start to the digestive system. It's not a mystery. And this has been clinically verified by conventional medicine as well. That it's funny that you always need to say that, right? That I need to say, oh no, conventional medicine thinks this too, like they have all the answers. But, that's just the world we live in. So I'm happy to play that game if that's what it takes to, convince people as well. So definitely a digestive-based issue. What we can look at is we have our own children's Candida protocol. I hadn't offered that online for a couple years. And, it's just so many questions, Jeanette, from people like yourself who wanted it. So now you can just go to stephencabral.com and get the Candida protocol for children. What's the difference between that and adults? Well, it's much gentler, of course, for children, much, much gentler. And you also don't have the capsules to swallow. So a couple of the capsules you'll open up and put right in food. Kids won't notice it, or in a smoothie. And the other part is using a clinically verified. That means that independent research done on this product called Biocidin to help kids as well. But of course, we need to get the other things along with it. Remember, no, supplements are not drugs. There's no one drug. Again, like I talked about in the beginning of the show, Prilosec for acid reflux, right? You take that one pill, a pill for every ill, and the acid's gone. Amazing. Of course, you can't digest protein, and it sits there and putrefies in your stomach and in your intestines, and it leads to bacterial overgrowth and a weakening of your immune system and all that. But besides all that, your stomach acid's gone. So here's the deal, though. Nutritional supplements don't work that way. It just doesn't happen. That's why you can't just say, hey, take this one thing. It's a multi-pronged approach. Typically, when I work with someone one-on-one, it's going to be somewhere between, well, let's say somewhere around 6 total nutritional supplements. Some things to balance the nervous system, some for digestion, maybe some to wipe out some type of bacterial issue, an overall multi or all-in-one, maybe an anti-inflammatory temporarily. And then we wean them off by the 3-month mark, 4-month mark. We start to wean them off, and then they're just doing something like the Dr. Cabral Daily Protocol, or maybe just an all-in-one shake, or maybe just an activated multi. So do keep in mind, you'll typically, again, if people are searching for that one pill, not going to happen, but our kids' Candida protocol will be great. But, you can also run the organic acids test. Your daughter's 4 years old. One morning when she wakes up, have her get right out of bed, go right to the bathroom, and you're going to have her urinate into this little cup, and then send that cup into the lab. We give you all the prepaid mailer for that, and it will show if your daughter has Candida overgrowth or bacterial overgrowth. A lot of moms do that, and they do it to convince their husbands that this is a real thing, because a lot of husbands and a lot of men just are, I'm a guy as well, so I can say this, really just kind of stuck in the conventional medicine mindset and like, oh, none of that works. Well, here's the deal. There's just as much research on natural medicine and much more. So again, conventional medicine, 150 years old, natural medicine since the beginning of time, using plants as medicine. So organic acids test, or go right into the kids' Candida protocol, you should be all set. And yes, the vaginal itching can do with that as well, just like a yeast infection. Okay, Kristen's up next. And Kristen's question is quite long, so we are going to read the highlights from it, and then everyone can read it today by going to stephencabral.com/590, and you can read along with the question as I'm answering it as well. Okay, so let's get started. Kristen writes, Dr. Cabral, I've been listening to your podcast for about a year now, and I've learned so much in multiple areas, thanks to your breadth of knowledge and desire to continue learning and educating others. As a registered dietitian, I'm constantly trying to stay up on my research and appreciate the more functional approach to medicine. And I've also gotten a health certification so I can approach it from a wellness perspective. My question is regarding myself. I'm 29, relatively fit, recovering type A personality. We all are. And 2 years, number of changes, relationships, moving, jobs, unemployment, trying to get into a more stable place. Okay. Heightened nerves and anxious due to, she gets butterflies in her stomach. After learning more about normal bowel movements, used to be considered normal for myself, actually bordering on constipation, has since gotten worse in the past year. Being a professional who is highly interested in gut health, I'm seeing a possible connection with my GI health and how this might correlate. Tried probiotics, kombucha, magnesium, enzymes. Used to do smoothies daily, but found they did not provide any sort of consistent relief. Let's see what else. It's a long question. Try to take in fiber and 75 ounces of water daily. Tried a few unique approaches. Also, very low carb. Also, FODMAP for a handful of days each. Detox cleanse supplements. And on and on. I'm ordering your HTMA test tonight as a good baseline to evaluate my current health. I greatly appreciate your time. Thank you so much for doing what you do. I'll continue to listen to each and every podcast. Okay, great. So a couple of things is I love the content to all of these questions. There's no doubt about it, and I read them all. What I would say is you could even put it in bullets. You can do all these things. And what I'm going to be able to do is help you probably even more from that perspective, because again, I can't make it an entire consultation, but the truth is that if you give me all the highlights, I know exactly what's going on, and I know exactly what's going on right now with Kristen. And it's only because, and I can say that, it's only because literally, I mean, people find this hard to believe, but I've been doing this a while, is that we see 20,000 client appointments a year, 20,000. I don't see them all, of course. I have an amazing team of personal trainers, nutritionists, holistic health coaches. We have a health spa, all those different things. We just see so many different cases. And in terms of this, 2/3 of my practice is digestive based. And I've seen all this before. And I know it seems very complicated when you're first going through it. And it was for me as well. Like I'm coming from the perspective of I knew nothing. Then I learned a little bit. Then I learned a little bit more. I got some great mentors. I studied all over the world. I went back to school. So it's a gradual breadth of knowledge, and I'm studying every day. So I want everyone to know I try to stay humble. I try to keep an open mind. When someone says something that runs directly contrary to my beliefs, I say, okay, why are they saying that? And I try to keep myself open. I say, okay, well, that might make sense. Like that might make sense. Let me look more into that. And I'll be sharing some of those things as well in the future where I've kind of opened my mind to things that I never thought that I would be into before. So a couple things going on. First thing, Kristen, is that you've tried so much, but you haven't tried it long enough. A lot of people believe that, okay, you've tried low carb for a handful of days, as you said, FODMAP for a handful of days each. That's not enough time. Like it's not enough time. It's going to take at least 72 hours just to decrease like a spasming intestine, inflammation, all of those things. Keep in mind when you run an IgG food sensitivity, one of those tests that we offer, the inflammation from eating something like dairy could last 3 days from an IgG perspective. That means your immune cells can reactivate 24 to 1, 2, or 3 days later. So here's my thing with everyone. Kristen, this isn't you, but you bring it up and I get to now share it with others. You need to really do things for a minimum of 3 to 4 weeks. You have to follow a low carb or a FODMAP or a high carb or a moderate carb or any carb you want or any of these things for at least 3 to 4 weeks. You can't see results after a couple of days. If people do my Dr. Cabral detox or my fat loss or any one of these things, they're like, oh, I tried it for a day and I just wasn't feeling well, this and that. You're not going to. You're not going to. Your body takes time to change. These are not pharmaceutical drugs. You don't take a sleeping pill and then just fall to sleep, right? Like this is not medication. This is changing your body from a real physiological level to get your body healthy. Now, I want you to look at a couple things here, Kristen. Most likely because of your anxiousness, this underlying anxiety, it is slowing the peristaltic movement in your intestines. And when you slow the peristaltic movement in your intestines, you can't move the stool down. This leads to putrefaction, it leads to fermentation, and it leads to bacterial overgrowth, causing something called small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And in the worst cases, where the small intestine meets the large intestine, that's called the ileum meeting the cecum, or the ileocecal valve. That valve can actually stay open. And when it does, it moves from a one-way street, which is from your small intestine to your large intestine, to now a two-way, which is not supposed to happen in your colon bacteria moves up into your small intestine, and that causes bloating, gas, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So yes, you did the hair tissue mineral analysis, and I completely agree. That will show you if you do really have this underlying stress. You'll see your electrolytes super high. You'll see your calcium off the chart, all of those things. Okay. So we have the hair tissue mineral analysis. Now, if you want to look at your gut health, you will run the organic acids test, okay? So that's a good one to look at. What we need to do is calm the central nervous system. And at the same time, if you don't want to run the organic acid test for the same price, you could also do the Candida and bacterial overgrowth protocol. I'm going to be renaming that in the future because it's not just for Candida and not just for SIBO or any of those things. It's for all IBS and bowel-based issues. So hopefully that helps get you going forward. All right. Sheila is up next. Hi, love your podcast. Learn something every day. I'm an active 62-year-old, but have noticed muscle loss, especially in the arms. What can I do to build up my muscles and stave off further decline? Great question, Sheila. Please go back. I'm going to answer your question, but please go back to previous Training Thursdays. Every Thursday, I provide some type of exercise or fitness or whatever it might be related podcast. Just a couple of weeks ago, I talked about how to progress. Remember, for women, it's even more important than men. It's even more important, especially after the age of 30, 35, 40. Women start to lose 5 pounds of muscle per decade. That's a lot. Like, it doesn't seem like, oh, 0.5 pound a year. That's how we all get sick. That is my upcoming book. It never happens overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. If it happens overnight, you wake up sick like I did when I was 17 years old. It didn't happen overnight. It was 3 years, 5 years in the making. It was me taking antibiotics for 3 years in a row, and then all of a sudden my system shut down. It was me being a perfectionist, ADD, ADHD, high stress, OCD kid all through high school, right? And even since probably I was 4 years old. It's all of those things. It's all of those things. And then one day it happens. So here's the deal. You don't want to lose 20 pounds of muscle in the next 20 years or so. So we need to make sure that we're 40 years. We want to make sure you're taking care of this. Now, listen to my previous podcast on the SAID principles, specific adaptation to imposed demands. Women lift a lot of times, get generalization, super generalization. They like to lift light weights. That's the problem. We've been told, in the 70s and 80s, use light weights for a lot of reps. No, that's not true. It's not true. You're not going to bulk up. You don't have enough testosterone to bulk up. And you need the heavier weight to build muscle and increase bone density. Now, I'm not talking about at 62 years old, getting under a barbell and doing heavy squats for like 1, 2, or 3 reps. I'm not saying that. That's irresponsible. Wouldn't recommend that. But what I would recommend is somewhere between like 8 and 12 reps, somewhere around there, for 2 to 3 sets of each exercise. Now, work up just from 1 set. Again, I told you, if you get sore after 1 set's good enough. After you're not sore anymore, then you can do 2 sets. Then maybe you can work up to 3. Sometimes with my body transformation clients who are in their 60s, I'll often only do 2 sets. It's enough. It's plenty. It's great. But you need to concentrate on the squats, the lunges, the deadlifts, and the step-ups, functional movements, the presses and the pulls. So basically a chest press and a row or a pull down and a shoulder press. And you want to get away from these light weights. Do a weight where you basically fail at 10 reps. Now, it doesn't mean you're losing form. You always want to keep good form, but you want to increase your weights each week for 4 to 6 weeks and then switch your program. My book called The Man's Guide to Muscle and Strength. Again, I didn't name it. My publisher named it. I have no control over that. We will link it up in the show notes today. Again, I'm promoting the book because it's 1 year of workouts for both men and women. And the truth is, I make about $1 per book sale. So this is not something for me trying to get rich off book sales, not anywhere close. But the truth is that that's going to give you the workouts. Now, I also want to make sure that you get in people don't need a ton of protein, but you still need enough protein, which you can get from a plant-based diet. You need about 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight to keep your muscle on your body. So now the simplest way to do it is this. If you weigh 150 pounds, try to get in somewhere around 60 to 70 grams of protein per day. Over 3 meals, it's only 20 grams of protein per meal. That's not a lot of protein at all. If you're doing the daily all-in-one shake, the daily nutritional support shake in the morning, that's 15 grams of protein. You throw in some fruits and veggies, you're going to get it up another 2-3 grams. You're getting 18 grams or so at least with that shake in the morning, probably closer to 20. That's it. That takes care of breakfast. Then at lunch, you're going to choose a vegan-based protein, black beans, chickpeas, lentils, whatever you'd like, or some fish or whatever you want. And you're going to get that. It's just a handful. It's a tiny handful. It's about 3 ounces of protein. That's 4 or 5 bites of protein. You don't need a lot, but you need enough, okay? So hopefully that gets you started. I want to answer one more question today, and that's from Anonymous. Anonymous is asking, hi, Dr. Cabral. Thank you for everything you're doing to help improve the life of others, including myself. I have a few questions that I'm hoping you can help me with. First off, can Candida be transmitted through sexual intercourse or oral sex? I've had white, sticky vaginal discharge, and I have a thick white coating on my tongue, especially in the AM, for years. I have no idea what it is or how to get rid of it. I took your Candida cleanse, and I'm now on daily probiotics, but it hasn't gone away. Can you give me some guidance on how to deal with this issue? Sure. So the truth is that we want to know what this is. Sorry, that was Anonymous' question. So, let's go back. Let me step back for a second. This is our last question of the day. So, can Candida be transmitted sexually? Yes, it can. It can. So the truth is, though, it's always the unfortunate thing. It's easier to transmit to women than it is to men. And that's just kind of the way it is. Now, with oral sex, yes, it can be transmitted to both people, no doubt about it. But we always have to think about this. So we're all exposed to things. We're all exposed to H. pylori. We're all exposed to parasites, but not everyone gets them. And the truth is that it's the strength of your immune system to keep these things at bay. It's the pH of the vaginal flora, which just means the bacteria in your vagina. It's the pH in your mouth. It's all of these things that can either kill it or allow it to fester. So even if someone does the Candida protocol and they're getting great results, you need to maintain. You can't go back. You need to maintain, again, with the, like you said, the daily probiotic support, all of those things. But what if you have H. pylori? What if you have some type of other overgrowth, whatever it might be? You can do the organic acid test to see what it is. You can see if you just have, again, another thing for the whiteness on the tongue might not be Candida at all. Like you can get rid of the Candida. White coating on the tongue can also just be a lack of stomach acid, right? So in Ayurvedic times, they always called the white tongue the kapha-based tongue, kind of the cold stomach. And cold, we would just know from a modern standpoint. I hate using that word modern standpoint because it makes it seem like Ayurveda didn't know what they were talking about. But what it means, that cold just means lack of stomach acid. So try doing things like spices or hot ginger tea, those types of things. See if the white goes away. See if it really is Candida overgrowth. It may not be. Now, the white vaginal discharge, please go back to my previous podcast on bacterial vaginosis because you could have easily cleared up the Candida inside the actual intestinal tract, but not locally in the vaginal tract or the vaginal flora. And you can do that with the boric that I talked about before. And you can do it with vaginal inserts of Lactobacillus acidophilus to reacidify the vaginal flora, which a lot of people think, again, we should alkalize everything, but that's not true at all. So I want you to look at those few things. You could use coconut oil during sexual intercourse, and that would help as well with Candida, with bacteria, with all of these different things. So tune back in if you can on my shows on bacterial vaginosis. What I'm going to do right now is just make sure that we and my team link that up in the show notes. So thank you everyone for tuning into today's Cabral House Calls. Really appreciate each and every one of your listens. And tomorrow, one of my favorite shows of the week is our Mindset and Motivation Monday. Be sure to tune in for that one. I try to give you some of my tips really that go across all platforms that sometimes even when you have the best information, you're not always ready to take that first step, or you don't know how to break the steps down in sequences to get the best results. So that's what Motivation and Mindset Mondays are all about. I use it for myself as well to get myself fired up for the week. I hope you enjoy them. Thank you everyone once again for tuning into the Cabral Concept. Please do feel free to share this show with anyone it could help.
Are you ready to heal yourself and then go on to heal others? If so, the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute can help you discover proven functional medicine protocols that blend the best of 7 different healing disciplines from around the world. I personally share with you the exact handouts and protocols I use in my private practice that enable people to get well, lose the weight, and live longer, stronger. I want to pass this information on to the next generation of health coaches, and that is exactly why I created IHP. We are the future of the health coaching industry, and the skills and knowledge you will learn will make you an in-demand certified health coach anywhere in the world. Although we have many medical professionals taking the IHP certifications, no experience is necessary, and half our members have no previous health certifications. At the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, our motto is a health coach in every home. Our goal is that you take this knowledge and then share it with family, friends, loved ones, your community, or in a practice where you create a career you love and can be proud of. The global IHP community is filled with some of the most kind and caring people in the world, and we can't wait to welcome you into our world soon. For more information or to set up a discovery call with one of our IHP Health Coach graduates, simply head over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org.